الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So tonight inshallah ta'ala we'll be continuing discussing the book Al-Mulaqis Al-Fiqhi by Shaykh Salih Fawzan Hafidhullah ta'ala, and we are discussing what is the title Bab Ahkam Al-Iddah. So matter that relates to Iddah, the waiting period if a divorce or a form of termination of the marriage have occurred. What are the Iddah, the waiting period that the lady has to go through. So we started a discussion and we'll be picking up from where we had stopped regarding those cases of Iddah. Aywa.
Bismillahi wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillahi qala mu'allif hafidhahullah. Chapter 9, Waiting Period, page 475. With regard to this, Imam Muwaffaqat ad-Din Ibn Qudama and other scholars stated, Muslim scholars unanimously agree that the waiting period prescribed for the menopausal free woman and for the young free woman who has not menstruated yet is 3 months. As for the woman who has reached the age of puberty but has not menstruated yet, her waiting period is to be the same as the menopausal woman, as she is included in this verse. And also for those who have not menstruated, Surah 65, Ayah 4, when the menopausal divorced slave woman or that who has not menstruated is the mother of a child of her master, her waiting period is 2 months. For Omar, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the waiting period prescribed for the divorced slave girl who has begotten a child to her master is 2 menstrual periods. If she has not menstruated, her waiting period is 2 months. This is because the months substituted for the menstrual periods. Some scholars maintain that the waiting period of such a woman is only 1.5 months. Their proof of this is the waiting period prescribed for the slave girl is half the observed by the free woman, and the waiting period for the free woman who has not menstruated is 3 months. Thus, the menopausal slave woman is 1.5 months.
So they mentioned that Imam Sadat Rahim, the Shara, Hafidhullah, that mentioned regarding those cases of ladies who are going through their Iddah, that he added regarding, just reconfirm that Ibn Qudam Rahimullah, that I've stated regarding those women that reach their menopause or not have have stopped having menstruation, that they wait for 3 months, as we had covered before. Then he discussed regarding concerning another case regarding those cases of female that are those women who are said to be Amma, that those who are slave girls, that if they were to their waiting period, then he mentioned that what is the whole of the ulama, that is 2 months, as the statement of Omar ibn Khattab that he gave them 2 months as their waiting period, while other of the ulama take the position that their waiting period is 1.5 months, based upon they hold that the position is that for them, those women, that the ahkam that applies to them is half of that of a free woman. So they mentioned 1.5 months. But they mentioned that qawl Umar al-Khattab, then that qawl is the qawl that more, that seems to be more correct. The view of Umar al-Khattab, the qawl that is more correct. Aywa.
Concerning the divorced woman who used to menstruate but suddenly stops menstruating, not because of old age, she has 2 cases.
So those are ladies that have a normal menstrual cycle, but due to certain factors, that cycle may change. So she have a normal cycle before previously, but then something occurred where our cycle now is of change. So they mentioned regarding those cases, what are how to calculate their iddah. Aywa.
The first case is when she does not know the cause that prevents her menstrual period, and hence she is to observe a waiting period of 1 year, 9 months for pregnancy and 3 months for the waiting period prescribed for the menopausal woman. Ash-Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on him, said, this is the judgment of Umar issued among the Muhajirun and the Ansar, and none of them denied it. The reason behind legislating such waiting period is to make sure that the woman is not pregnant, and when 9 months pass, it's because it becomes certain that she is not pregnant. Then she is to observe the waiting period prescribed for the menopausal woman, i.e. 3 months. The total waiting period is thus 12 months, during which it will be certain that she is not pregnant and that the 3 months supposed to be for menstruation has passed.
It was the first case that he mentioned regarding those women that لا تعلم سبب التي منع الحيض. So those ladies that does not know the reason why their menstrual cycle have stopped, then they mentioned then in those cases that she have to go to an iddah or a marriage of end, and she have to go to an iddah. So she had a cycle but it have stopped, and she doesn't know the reason why it has stopped, and she doesn't know when it might restart having that menstrual cycle. Then they mentioned that, as was mentioned by that the ulama have taken a position that she sit and she wait out her cycle for 1 year. So she go for 1 year. 9 months of that 1 year is due to that regarding concerning to see that pregnancy period of 9 months, and also they mentioned that another 3 months after that for iddah, which is the iddah of not having a cycle. So we go a total of 9 months. That's concerning those cases where she does not know that it has stopped, and she doesn't know why it has stopped. Aywa.
The second case,
or cycle, her cycle has stopped. Her cycle has stopped, and she does not know why it has stopped. Aywa.
The second case is when such a woman knows the cause that prevents her menstrual periods, such as illness, breastfeeding, or taking a medicine that prevents menstruation. In this case, she is to wait until the cause no longer exists, and then if she menstruates again, she is to observe a waiting period of 3 menstrual periods. However, if she does not menstruate, she is to observe a waiting period of 1 year, just as the woman who does not know the cause that prevents her menstrual period, according to the most preponderant view. This is the opinion of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, and one of the opinions related about Imam Ahmed.
It is another scenario or another case regarding those women that their cycle has stopped. So they had a cycle and then it has stopped. So in this case, she knows the reason why her cycle has stopped. And it could be due to, as I mentioned, illness or other factors, or she taken some form of medication or pills, so it has stopped. And but she know the reason why. So they mentioned that if she have recovered from the illness and then her cycle then starts, then those cases she counts her cycle. Then he mentioned also if she doesn't know, in the next case that he discussed concerning that, he mentioned that the recovery hasn't but she have recovered, but the cycle hasn't returned. So she have recovered, and the cycle from her illness or her situation that stopped her from having cycle before, but even though she have passed the recovery, but the cycle has not returned, or cycle has not returned in that case, then she's considered to be like the first case, where she go for a 1 year period. Aywa.
There are some cases pertaining to mustahada. The first case is when she knows...
So al-mustahada, what is mustahada? Aywa. Post. Mustahada. Mustahada.
Is it?
That's different from istihada, sir.
Ah?
Is that different from istihada?
Ay. Istihada. Aywa. Post natal bleeding. Hey, that's istihada?
No.
That's the question I'm asking.
It's when
That's nifas. So istihada. So you have hayd, that's clear. Then we have istihada, and we have nifas. So al-hayd is related to the monthly cycle that they have. Then istihada is that she has cycle, but she have a continuous bleeding. So the lady that is always having some form of bleeding. A is a continuous bleeding. And nifas is after childbirth. Aywa. So in this case, is the one who that she's having this continuous bleeding. She's having this continuous bleeding. So I said no, her case of istihada, that she's not, she's considered that her case is not that of a person who's al-hayd. So with the istihada, that if she knows she have estimated when it's her cycle. When she have passed that time, she can still have intercourse. She will still fast. So she she'll function like a woman who's clean during that time of al-istihada. Aywa.
The first case is when she knows her time and habit of menstruation before istihada. Then her waiting period must equal 3 menstrual periods according to her usual pattern. The second case is when she forgets the duration of her menstrual period before the istihada, but she distinguishes her menstrual blood from the blood of istihada. Thus, she must consider her menstruation period relying on the distinction between the menstrual blood and that of istihada.
So in those two cases, that she can make a distinction in that regard, concerning even though she's going istihada, but she's able to make that distinction that when she believes that she's on her cycle and when she's off. So when she believes that she's on her cycle, then that is counted as a cycle, and when she believes that she has stopped her cycle, then it is considered to be, even though she having continuous bleeding, that's not counted as as al-haid. So she does count because she knows those. She have her timing. Then she'll count 3 cycles. In that case, she'll still use her haid as the basis to count her waiting period. Aywa.
The second case is The third case is when she forgets the time of her menstruation and she cannot distinguish her menstrual blood. Then she is to observe the same waiting period of a menopausal divorced woman, namely 3 months.
So with that case, with the istihada, you mentioned 3 scenarios and 3 rulings. 2, that she still counts, use her cycle, and 1, she use months. So the one that she can make that distinction of her cycle in those 2 cases, then they'll be used. And when she's unable to make that distinction, then she just use months. She use months, which is 3 months. Aywa.
One of the rulings pertaining to the waiting period is the marriage proposal to a woman observing her waiting period. It is prohibited to propose frankly to the widow or the irrevocably divorced woman as long as any of them is observing her waiting period. For example, a man is prohibited to say to such a woman something like, "I want to marry you." However, he can allude concerning a proposal to her, such as when he says, "I want to marry someone like you." For Allah exalted be, He says, "There is no blame upon you for that which you indirectly allude concerning a proposal to a woman." Surah Baqarah, ayat 235.
So now, Hafidullah, now discuss somewhat other matter that relates to al-iddah, which is more so regarding that in those cases of iddah, a woman going through her waiting period, then the next matter is it allowed for one to propose to her during that iddah period? So she's observing her iddah, then is someone allowed to propose to her marriage during that time? So you mentioned that in 2 cases, that you mentioned the first concerning wafat, that the lady who have husband as the widower or husband has passed away, or the one concerning talaq al-ba'in, the one that have ended, she have 3 talaqs have been passed. In those cases, that during their iddah, that they're still observing the iddah, that a person cannot directly propose to them. Clear? So in those cases, one cannot directly propose to them, but one can do so indirectly. So one can indirectly, because in those cases, they have somewhat in that marriage is somewhat with the one now, the lady who of her husband has passed away, then there's no him coming back. You understand? So the husband has passed away, so it's just now how he's now looking concerning her future regarding marriage, that she's allowed that in getting married, that she can get married, that because she's still in her iddah, one cannot directly propose to her or discuss about marriage. One has to do so indirectly. And the same came to regarding talaq al-ba'in, where that the husband has given the 3 talaqs. So you have given his 3 talaqs to his wife. In that case, they are not able to get married until certain process occur after she have remarried. So in that case, because of him not able to immediately marry her, that yes, because she still have to observe her iddah. But if someone is interested, then a person cannot be direct; they have to be indirect. Clear? Aywa. So these ahkam said not that these ahkam also for a female to be aware of them. So also a female, just as a male, it should be a man, and also the woman should be aware of these ahkam regarding what is allowed and not allowed during her iddah. Aywa.
In addition, it is permissible for a man to propose, whether frankly or indirectly, to his irrevocably divorced wife during or after her waiting period, since he is permitted to take back his revocably divorced wife during her waiting period or remarry her after her waiting period. As for the wife of a missing man...
Hey, so before we go to... So with this what I mentioned, يباح للرجل أن يخطب. So I mentioned a rajul. So what is intended though by a rajul, meaning the husband, based upon what comes regarding concerning siyak, or what is discussed, or the matter being discussed concerning that a man who have divorced his woman, but he hasn't divorced her, give her the 3 talaqs. So he divorced her once, and she have finished her iddah, or she's he can remarry her again. So even though she maybe have ended that iddah, he can still remarry her because they only have 1 talaq against them. So he married this lady, and the 3 are iddah pass, and he wants to remarry her. Then he can do so. Clear? You with me? Or in the case regarding concern that, which is he has divorced her and she's going through her, which is a talaq al-raj'i, she's going through her iddah. He's the only one, which is that he can just take her back. He just take her back, and she's going. This is a talaq al-raj, as he mentioned here, that he just take her back. So that's concerning those cases. So this, the second case, is the person regarding the husband, the same husband. Is he able to remarry his woman, that or the wife that he divorced? Yes, he can do so if he hasn't exceeded the 3 divorces, or she's going through her talaq al-raj'i, then he can take her back. Aywa. Then he mentioned now the 6 of those cases regarding at-talaq or al-iddah, that a woman in her iddah, the 6th case that applies, aywa, or another of those cases that apply.
As for the wife of a missing man who has disappeared and it is not certain that he is alive, she is to wait the sufficient period set by the judge for him to come back until something certain is known about him. During this period, she is still considered his wife, since the principle acted upon in this case is that he is considered alive.
So as a call of the ulama, that for instance, the next case regarding that the lady, she's married, and her husband is, she has no knowledge whether he's alive or dead. So he's missing, unknown regarding his whereabouts. So what becomes of such a case? So in those cases, I mentioned that so the case where the husband is missing and no one knows that whether he's alive or he has passed away. So it's considered to be mafqood. So it's someone is missing. Husband who's missing. So in that case, what to be done? So discuss between the ulama in those cases that they mentioned that the first view or position taken by some of the ulama that because the marriage, we don't know if he's still alive or he has passed away. So it is taken that he's still alive, because we have nothing to say that he's deceased. So the case would be that in this case, that of the ulama who all concerning that they still remain married until there is proof to say otherwise, because their marriage is still a valid marriage until either we can prove or it can be proven that her husband has passed away. So in that case, they remain in a marriage. And she cannot marry until they can be proven that her husband has passed away. That's a view taken by some of the ulama, as he mentions here. Aywa.
When this period expires, he is legally considered a dead person, and his wife is to observe the waiting period prescribed in the case of death, which is 4 months and 10 days.
So a next view of the ulama regarding concern that the husband who is missing, that the waiting period for that wife, it could last up to many years. When I mentioned that, so they said it could last many years. They mentioned that the husband, they give concern the lifespan for a man, for a person, is 90 years from birth. So they said that if a husband is missing, right? And for example, he got missing and he's at the age of 45 and he's missing. So they said in that case, the lifespan for a person is estimated to be the most 90 years. And he's missing from what age? 45. So I said, now what happens that you count from his birth up until, which would be, say, 45 years has passed in his life. So she's considered to be married to him until the next 35 years.
So 90 years.
Hey, so
45 years then, another 45.
45
Yeah.
and 45,
Yeah.
90. So 90, so 45. So she have to wait for 45 years, and then for them to count that he has passed away. And then after that 45 years, then she goes to her 4 months and 10 days.
Boy, not long left after that, boy.
So that's a view that is taken by some. That this is the person that so that's an off view taken by some. Well, that she considered to be still technically married until that he has reached the estimate that he have reached up to 90 years, and then she can move on. So that's of the view that is taken by some of the ulama. Aywa. We mentioned the more balanced view.
I thought it would have been something like if he does business in, say he's in Saudi, and he does business in Syria or whatever trade route. If it takes like a year, I don't know, maybe like 4 months to get there. His business is usually 4 months, and he's usually back in 12 months. Would it be like, okay, if he's not back in 12 months, maybe give him another 12 months? That will make sure that his business definitely would have been concluded, and he's definitely deceased.
That might be helpful because I was calculating the first one, innit?
Hey, sometimes you have different calculation as to how to work out those numbers. You know, you have those cases that we have mentioned. The example that has been mentioned that it could go up to 90 years. So in the case we said that where I said that whatever is that he has left his residence, left his wife, and the reason he's missing. So they have put those different calculation regarding how much time. There's a next view to be mentioned, inshallah, a next view to be mentioned. That you find that Sheikh Khalid Mashayikhi, that in discussing the matter, he mentioned regarding concerns, you have cases where that the husband have left, and there's a greater possibility that he have died. So in the case, for example, halak, that he's on a ship, and we know the ship sunk. Then the most likely position that no one has been found, and it's gone for a while. So in those cases, that it is certain that that there's a greater probability that the husband have passed because the type of death. He was on a ship, the ship sunk. So most likely, they have done their rescue and all those things, and he wasn't found.
If that happens, and let's say they pronounce him dead, she gets remarried, let's say he turns up somewhere.
And that's going to come also. They discuss also those cases, type of thing. So this case concerns that to decide. So in those cases, they discuss concerns. So in the case there's a greater probability that he have died, then in those cases, you have those cases. So and then you have the case where they said that he's missing, but there's a possibility that because you don't know whether he's alive or whether, but you have nothing to say that he has passed away. It's like, for example, a person have gone in that area where there's war, and we're not, he went out there and he was a part of it. So in that possibility, most likely that he has passed away because he has been missing now for a while, and no one have no word of him. So in those cases, the case of considering there's greater possibility of death, then you have those scenarios where then at some point then a limit have to be given and move on and she can remarry type of situation. Then another situation, a case of that he has left. He's a traveler, businessman. You understand that, and just for some reason he's missing. Maybe he decides just to, I found a different location, I decide to settle, and he hasn't per se contact anyone regarding his wife about what's going on with him. Right? So in that case, what to be done? We have nothing to say that he has died. Right? So what to be done in those cases? So in those cases, that would be those cases regarding that, give him 90 years. Those cases that they continue to be married until we're certain that is have passed away. Then we said, no, you have a next call regarding that matter. A next view, which is the more balanced opinion. Aywa.
This is the judgment the companions, may Allah be pleased with them all, gave in such a case. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim said, the rightly guided caliphs gave judgments concerning the wife of a missing man, as narrated about Omar ibn Khattab. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said, I do not doubt this ruling, for 5 of the companions ordered the wife of a missing man to observe the waiting period prescribed for the widow. Ibn al-Qayyim added, the opinion of Omar is the most preponderant view by means of analogical deduction, and Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said, this is the soundest opinion.
In the matter that Sheikh Khalid and Sheikh were discussing, that I found that he mentioned that. So in the case concerning the person of, in those cases, a missing husband, he put it into 2 main scenarios. The case where most likely he have passed away due to the circumstance. He was at war, or and no one have heard anything of him missing, or a shipwreck or an accident occurred that, and he was in the car, type of thing. Then in those cases of those scenarios mentioned that the ulama mentioned that for that wife, in those cases, she can remain for 4 years. For 4 years, shipwreck or ship sunk, 4 years. Then after she would do her iddatul wafa, and then she can remarry. So give it a maximum for her to wait 4 years. Then you have the next scenario they discuss regards to that. You have those cases where most likely that the husband may have passed away. Then you have the next case regarding that. It's up. We're uncertain. It's uncertain whether he has passed away. So he went business trip, like the case of example that missing plane. You know, the case of no one knows the place. The plane has gone. You understand? So in those cases where a plane have left a country and of X amount of passenger, and for some reason the plane is missing and they cannot find nobodies. Remember that case a couple of years ago?
In Malaysia.
Everything is missing. So now you have husband, wives on those cases. So in those cases, for the husband, their wife they may wait for either 4 more years. 4 years. After 4 years, they'll do their iddah of wafa, and then they can remarry. Then you have the next case concerning those, another case, another that he mentioned, that the husband has gone missing. But it's a time of peace. He's a businessman in some remote area, or his business, and for some reason no one can make contact with him. His wife is not informed him anything, right? Or a case where the husband is with his wife, and he decided he left the house, and from the time that he left the house, she haven't heard, there's no contact. He may have moved to a different country, but he decided not to make contact with her. So in those scenarios, what to be done? So we're not sure is he still alive or has he passed away? What to be done in those cases? So they mentioned Omar al-Khattab, of a precedent, Omar he somewhat gave it a cut-off. But I mentioned that the matter regarding the cut-off time, regarding how much time she have to wait, it may vary from, as Imam Shafi, it may vary. So the precedent of Omar that there should be a cut-off point. So as for how long is that cut-off point, then they mentioned that it may vary from time, from one era, time era to another. Like in our time, maybe a much shorter time compared to before, maybe 4 or 5 years, because of their situation. Our situation is somewhat different, so the time may shorten. For example, I mentioned that one of the ulama of Ahmed Shakir, that regarding concerning those cases, gave 1 year. If the husband is missing, he gave a 1 year period as a judge. If he doesn't resurface within 1 year, then she does her iddah, wafat, and then she moves on. So in our time now, maybe even shorter. So I mentioned that it goes back to the discretion of the judge. It could be 1 year, as the Sheikh mentioned, it could even be less of 6 months, or 3 months, based upon, it said, time, period, which time we're in. Also, zaman wa makan, from one place to another. Also, it mentioned from one person, one situation to another. They mentioned that, like in our time, you have all these devices. You can find people easily. So the person that's completely off the map, as they will say today, and the judge may say, okay, give it 3 months and that's it. So it goes back to the judge to make that discretion, which is, they mention of our time, a year or less.
Would a similar situation, say for example, the example we gave about the plane guy missing the black box. If a man has 4 wives, and one of his wives goes travelling with her father, for example, and she's in this situation, so he can't remarry to take another 4 or 5, would he have like a similar waiting period time that a judge would have to give him a certain time before she's classed as dead and he can remarry?
It would be the same thing. So it would be the same thing. So if somebody said in that scenario, the husband, he has 4 wives, one is she's missing. So she's missing, So at what point he counts her as pronounce her, you understand, missing where? He can remarry. You understand? So the same thing would apply. The same thing would apply if he wants to marry a 4th. But more common happen with female than that of the male. But it goes both ways. It will be the same rule applies both ways. So the person that I mentioned regarding that case, does the person need to go to the qadi to make that judgment or not? Like so some of the ulama mentioned that in those cases consider setting the time. It doesn't require a qadi, a judge, to set the time. Right? The person can decide, I can't hear from my husband. Like there's a case, I'll call, and she's in a country for the past 3 or so years, no contact with her husband. But she believed, but you understand, no contact at all. But it may be that she tried that, it may be in another country. But he's not making contact. But she may be possibilities in the next country. You understand? And it's a case where, hey, Allah mustan. So either for that, but also he's trying to escape from child benefit. We call that thing child benefit. The guy is a doctor. He's a doctor.
What?
He's a doctor. You understand? So Allah mustan. So he can somewhat skip country type of thing. Maybe other factors. You understand when I said no? So you find that so you find that some people may do it for the various reasons. Yes, divorce woman then move, but you understand, but leave her still somewhat hanging, and you have no contact, and you have children with her. I'm saying yes, but the person said no, it's not everything. People might think that those things happen with people who are the poor class of the people. It even actually with people who are, you understand, who have somewhat very stable job. You understand? The person he's a doctor. You understand? Fallah mustan. So in those cases, they said after 3 years, and you understand, then at some point, then things need to be wind down. Aywa.
When the waiting period of the wife of a missing man expires, she is permitted to marry another man, and she does not need to get a divorce from the guardian of her missing husband. If she remarries and then her first husband returns, he has the option to take her back or approve of her second marriage and restore his dowry according to the preponderant view, whether his return is before or after the consummation of her marriage to the other man.
It's an excellent. So that's the question. That's in cases now that the husband is said to be missing, and the matter have gone to the judge. The judge have ended the marriage, and she has now remarried. Then the husband, he have resurfaced. So the husband has somewhat resurfaced type of thing. Then from what is being mentioned here concerning what it says now, and for Sahih annahu yukhayyar. So from what is mentioned, the Sheikh is mentioning concerning that is more so the husband that for him to make the decision whether he wants to take his wife back or to let her go. But if he let her go, she stay with her present husband, you understand, then she has to give back the sadaqah. She has to give back the mahar. So it goes back now to from what the Sheikh has mentioned, that it rests upon the husband to make that decision. whether he wants to keep his wife. So I said it may, and those cases may, can be more complicated. That if she have remarried and she have children with a new husband, and then this old, the husband who's supposed to have gone, you understand, he has returned, then it's a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult. So sometimes those cases may still need go to the qadi. It may still need go to the judge for him to look at certain factors then regarding how much to the extent of that marriage and what is in and the things that may, other things that may be involved. For the person that she has now remarried, she have kids, they have, you understand, house, and all, you understand, different things are involved. Of those cases may need to go back to the qadi, to a judge. Aywa.
With regard to this, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah.
But it shows that at some cases the husband may still be entitled to go back to his wife. But it does kind of somewhat prove that in certain cases that he may be still entitled to take back his wife. Aywa.
Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy on him, said, the soundest ruling on the wife of a missing man is the judgment of Omar and some other companions. She must wait 4 years, then observe the waiting period prescribed for the widow. After completing her waiting period, she is permitted to marry another man. If her first husband returns after she has married, he has the option to take her back or restore his dowry, whether his return is before or after the consummation of her marriage to another man. And this is the opinion acted upon in the Hanbali school. He added, giving the man the option of taking back his wife or restoring his dowry is the most preponderant view.
Anyway, that's concerning that matter regarding those cases concerning al-iddah, the more that have been discussed regarding different cases of iddah for a female. Said now of these masail that a female should be aware of them. So a female should be aware of concerning ahkam al-iddah, as this applies to them, just as they apply to a man, but more so they need to be aware of these ahkam. So when they're in their iddah, are they allowed, when they are not allowed to marry? Because if she's in her iddah and get married, you understand, then that marriage is not valid. That marriage is not valid. That's been a return.
And the wife said, okay, I will go with you. In order to prevent the issue of taking pregnancy from the new one to the other one, is there meant to be like
waiting period for her?
No.
Adam said that those masail regarding this other thing that may be involved, type of thing. So they'll discuss concerning istibra, which is a waiting period regarding to kind of somewhat check out certain situations. So he said no, in those cases the thing is that he has a right to take her. He said if he chooses to take her back and she agrees, then the thing would be that because their marriage is still considered to be a valid marriage. You understand? Does she still need to go through a waiting? She has no waiting period. She just go back to him. You understand? She just go back to him based upon, says no, he has a right to take her back, and if she agrees, if they agree upon him, if they agree upon this, then she just go back and start to function as a wife, because their initial marriage is considered to be valid. تفضل شيخ. I have sent. How much? You can do this one page for in between. Aywa. So, Bismillah. So are we able to cover this next chapter? Okay, Bismillah.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله قال المؤلف حفظه الله chapter 10 page 479 verifying the slave girl's non-pregnancy. Verifying that the slave girl is not pregnant is achieved by her master abstaining from having sexual intercourse with her for a specified period sufficient to make sure that she has not conceived. Thus, when a slave girl is sold, given as a gift or captured and she is fit to have sexual intercourse, her new master is prohibited to have sexual intercourse with her or even foreplay until making sure that she is not pregnant. For the Prophet ﷺ said, "It is not lawful for a man who believes in Allah on the last day to water what another has sown," meaning having sexual intercourse with a pregnant woman. Related by Ahmed, Tirmidhi and Abu Dawood. In another narration related by Abu Dawood, the Prophet ﷺ said, "No one should have sexual intercourse with a pregnant woman from a previous man until she gives birth."
Hey, so that hadith that I mentioned, so the hadith is mentioned, hadith al-Hasan. So, min al-ulama, Sheikh Al-Bani Arnaout, that they all the hadith to be al-Hasan. And as I mentioned, it's not that many of the ulama, they are more so of this view regarding concerns. So the same thing may applies to the case that you you mentioned, Saraj, may apply so even though that case, that so any woman who's said to be pregnant, then she may have to wait out her pregnancy or carry to her pregnancy before she can have intimacy with someone else, as the hadith here mentions. So the mention istibra is not mentioned, is applies to like a female that is a slave girl that the person maybe have bought her or have received her before they have intimacy with her, give a little time for her to see if she's pregnant, which would be either one cycle before one can have intimacy with them. You bought her and you want to make sure that she's not pregnant if she was with someone else. So you give her like a month or for her to see a cycle. Then after then the person then can have intimacy with her. They mention also this applies to, so this not only applies to them, it applies to cases of a female that have entered into Islam and she was in a relationship with someone else before. So you might also, with that, they have to be separated. Because she was living with someone before, accept Islam, before someone can marry her off, then she have to go through istibra. She have to go to a 1 month to make sure that everything is clear for her before she can remarry. Aywa.
The period of verifying the pregnancy of a slave girl lasts until she gives birth due to the generality of the Quranic verse, and for those who are pregnant, their term is until they give birth. Surah At-Talaq, Ayat 4. The period of verifying the non-pregnancy of the non-pregnant slave girl who menstruates is only one menstrual period, as the Prophet ﷺ said about the enslaved women of Autas, "No one should have sexual intercourse with a pregnant woman from a previous man until she gives birth, nor should anyone have sexual intercourse with a non-pregnant woman until a menstrual period passes," related by Ahmed and Abu Dawood. This hadith indicates the obligation of verifying if the slave girl is pregnant or not, whether captured or not, having sexual intercourse with her, before having sexual intercourse with her. Moreover, this hadith illustrates how to verify the pregnancy of the pregnant slave girl and that of the menstruating one. As for the menopausal slave girl or one who is still young and has not menstruated yet, she needs 1 month to verify her pregnancy, since 1 month substitutes for 1 menstrual period in counting the waiting period. The wisdom behind the prescription of verifying the pregnancy or the non-pregnancy of the slave girl is implied in the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, "It is not lawful for a man who believes in Allah on the last day to water what another man has sown," meaning having sexual intercourse with a pregnant woman. This indicates that the objective of verifying the pregnancy is to avoid any possible confusion concerning the lineage of the offspring.
As concerning this chapter regarding istibra, so it applies to, as mentioned, regarding that those women that may be captured in war, that before if they're so they will be, if they are distributed, then before one have intimacy, then give them a month. Then also if a slave, someone is bought as a slave girl or lady, then also the same thing would apply before one have intimacy with them. Then also give them a time to ensure that they are not pregnant. Also mentioned that cases that concern the cases also that applies to istibra. So I don't want to mention that it referred to as idda, but more correctly it is istibra, which is concerning a khula. So in khula, what she experiences is not per se idda, referred to as idda, is actually istibrar, which is to 1 month for her to, or 1 cycle for her to 1 month to see if she's pregnant or not. So that's concerning the case of then she can remarry. So that's concerning matters regarding this discussion. With that, inshallah, said also included be those female that accepted Islam and they were known to be in a relationship at the time that they accept Islam. Then also before they can remarry, that they have to wait out a month to see whether they are pregnant or not. If they are not pregnant, they can get married. If they are pregnant, then they wait out until they delivered. So that, inshallah ta'ala, we have ended this chapter, the author rahimahullah or hafidullah I've mentioned, and what comes next will be other matters regarding ahkam, al-usra, other matters discussed concerning matters regarding family law that to be discussed, bidnillahi ta'ala.